Welcome to Passing the Plate, the podcast that's all about food, traditions, and the wonderful connections they create. I'm Lisa Lisson, the genealogist and family history expert behind Are You My Cousin?
And I'm Ashley Covelli, the food writer and recipe developer behind Big Flavors from a Tiny Kitchen. We'll be your guides on this flavor-packed adventure. We're not just talking about recipes. We're diving into family history, exploring new cultures, and preserving favorite recipes for future generations. In short, we're celebrating the stories and tastes that come with every bite.
So grab a seat at the table and let's embark on the journey of flavor, tradition, and connection. This is Passing the Plate, where every episode is a feast for the senses and a celebration of the ties that nourish our souls. In this episode, we're talking not about the main dish or the star of your dinner table, but all those yummy side dishes made to complement the meal. So Ashley, that phrase side dish is really a bit vague. What actually is a side dish?
Well, Lisa, I feel like the trends for what makes a balanced meal kind of tend to change over time. So when I was growing up, I think a lot of people wanted to do meat, vegetable, carbs like rice or pasta for every meal. And so side dishes weren't necessarily exciting, but there are just so many options out there. So, you've got veggies, slaws, rice and beans, or even a clean out your pantry fridge type situation, which is my favorite. You can really get creative with sides. I mean, really, it's just anything that you serve with your main, whatever you want to consider your main course. But I guess also with more prominence in some plant-based cooking and stuff, not seeing vegetables always as just a side. They're also sometimes the main. So I feel like you can't just say it's vegetables are a side dish, because sometimes they're the main. It just really depends.
That's a really good point. And I do love your clean out the fridge or pantry type of a side dish, because I certainly have done that on a number of occasions. Actually, what are your thoughts on, they say, the number of side dishes? Is there kind of a traditional number of side dishes we have? And has it really evolved? I guess I'm thinking about more of what's a good balance between, if you have a main dish, say like a roasted chicken, how much in the way of sides do you need? How prominent should they be? I think it's probably a bit more of an old-fashioned thought process, but my grandparents were from farming families, so they would have the main dish or the meat on the table, and then in much smaller portions you would have your traditional vegetables, although we know that doesn't always have to be. And they would fill out their side dishes with cornbread or biscuits, definitely at every meal, to kind of help fill things in. But it does seem to be the trend these days when I talk to friends that there are fewer side dishes, larger main dishes, or maybe more one pot meal type things. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think a lot of the one pot or sheet pan meals have the sides as part of the one dish. So like a sheet pan chicken dish will also have cut up veggies that you roast along with it, or the one pot pasta dish that also has beans and tomatoes and veggies mixed in. So it's not necessarily as separated as it used to be. And as for the number of sides, I feel like it's just a personal preference. So for my family, I'd say most often I go with two sides just to have a little variety, but some of those sides may have just one component like rice, or multiple, like a salad that I put together with things in my pantry like canned beans, artichoke hearts, tomatoes, cucumbers, a little oil and vinegar. That's one of my favorites to do because it comes together really quickly. You don't have to cook anything. But I really try to make sure we're getting some sort of actual produce, whether it's cooked or raw, with each meal. And apparently there's a major lack of dietary fiber, especially in the typical American diet these days.
Actually, I've heard that about the lack of dietary fiber in so much of the American diet, particularly with all the processed foods that are available these days. Good processed foods, but certainly still processed foods. So, yeah, you had told me that you had talked with a nutritionist about some of that. And so I'd love to hear a little bit more about what you learned about fiber and, how we can incorporate it with, say, some of our side dishes.
Yeah. So I had a couple concerns that I was talking about with the nutritionist, and I really wanted tangible guidelines on how much of certain things should be making up my diet. And again, this is for my specific, age, gender, nutritional goals. But what she told me is that it's best to fill your plate with 3/4 leans and greens, what she calls it. So veggies, and lean protein like chicken or fish, and then 1/4. So you got 3/4 of your plate is leans and greens, and then 1/4 is a scoopable carb. So about a cup or less if you measure it after cooking, to get that balance. As far as like a goal for fiber, for again, this is for me, but this gives you an idea, is between 25 and 35 grams a day. And a lot of Americans are getting like in the single digits because of all, like you were saying, the refined, processed, everything. So it's great to get it from food sources if you can. So, your whole grains, and there's, um, you know, especially green things, I feel like tend to have a lot of fiber, like dark green things, vegetables and whatnot. But there are also supplements you can use. You can, add them to your drinks or whatever, but it really does help with all of your digestion and everything to get enough fiber, which is like such a kind of boring ho-hum type of thing, but it really can help you overall, and it fills you up.
So yes, I've heard that about the typical American diet being so low in fiber these days, but it seems like, side dishes are actually probably a really good way to help with that issue
Mm-hmm.
as well. I know I love vegetables, and I love to cook, so it's not a hardship for me to be in my kitchen and creating side dishes like
Right.
that. But do you have recommended like on some quick and easy ones that maybe folks who don't have a lot of time or who are not as into cooking as we are might enjoy as far as
Mm-hmm.
side dishes?
Yeah, there's actually one of the things I like doing is kind of cooking more than I need of something like a grain or lentils. And I did this recently. I went for and lentils are a really good source of fiber if that's something that you're looking to add. I found a recipe on the back of the bag of Bob's Red Mill green lentils for this. It's like a warm lentil salad. It's got carrots and onions, and it's in a little like quick vinaigrette. It was so good. And when I was making the lentils, I cooked twice as much as I needed, froze half of it, and then I was able to make that again like months later, and the lentils were already cooked. So doing things like that to kind of prep in advance, I think, can be helpful in having you not stress out. You can do the same thing with like rice. You could cook extra rice and freeze that. And if you're looking for the more uh, full of fiber things versus the more processed foods, you could go for, you know, brown rice. You could do grains like farro or quinoa, things like that, that kind of are more nutrient dense. And I'll link an article from the Mayo Clinic that's got a list of vegetables and fruits and grains and what their grams of fiber are per serving. So like you can see on here, like green peas have 9 grams per cup. So maybe there's something you could do with peas. I personally love peas by themselves, like frozen peas. I love. I'll sometimes just toss them with pasta, like just peas and pasta, maybe a little Parmesan. It's really good. But yeah, it's got a lot of information. And just like generally speaking, if you eat the skin on something, that's going to be a little more filling. It'll have more nutrients in it than if you peel everything. Obviously, you can't eat the peels on every dish, but I think there's a lot of ways you can get creative with it. And again, having a stocked pantry is really going to help. Or freezer, using frozen vegetables, I think is really overlooked. They're frozen when they're at their freshest. So really getting frozen vegetables, you're getting a lot of nutrition in that. And you don't have to do as much work usually. And somewhere like
I
Trader
like that.
Joe's, I know you go to
Yeah.
Trader Joe's, they have a lot that have like combinations of vegetables, or there's some seasoning in there already. So yeah.
Yeah, I definitely do that and rely on frozen vegetables as well because those are the quick and easy side dishes to create
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to because if I've done a lot of cooking on a main dish, sometimes it is
Yeah.
kind of more of an effort to do that. I actually loved your idea, your lentil dish that you were mentioning, because I could see where that could actually be a main dish, but it
Mm-hmm.
could also be a side dish. And so sometimes rethinking what a main dish is
Yeah.
and how that could work as side dishes in the future actually is a really kind of a cool concept to think about. And it just got my wheels thinking and
Yeah.
spinning about, yes, I have some of those main dish salads, but that if I freeze them or break them down into smaller portions, they would then be a really quick and easy side dish for me if I'm making, a larger, say,
Yep.
roasting a chicken or something like that.
Yeah. Well, and I actually have still one portion of that left in the fridge right now. I'm going to have it for lunch today, and I've got some leftover steak from a couple nights ago. So I have I have that, and then I have the steak. So it's like a full meal, but sometimes even just topping something with an avocado or an egg, like just throwing a little extra protein in it to make it feel more like a meal versus like a salad. But that's one of the things I love about canned beans. Like they're so easy and versatile. They can add a lot of oomph to something. Ever wonder where your family story began or who came before you? Tracing your family history can be exciting, but getting started can feel overwhelming. That's where Are You My Cousin comes in. Hosted by genealogy expert Lisa, this website and YouTube channel are overflowing with resources to bust through those brick walls. Discover hundreds of informative articles and engaging video tutorials packed with research strategies, tips, and tricks to untangle your family history. Whether you're a seasoned genealogist or just starting your journey, Are You My Cousin empowers you to uncover the fascinating stories of your ancestors. Visit lisalisten.com to explore the website and subscribe to the YouTube channel for fresh genealogy content every week. Lisa, do you have any specific meals that you feel like there's a certain side dish that belongs with them? Like if you make this, then it must have this with it.
Okay, so that's an interesting question. And it does kind of make me think. One of the first things that kind of comes to my brain would be lasagna. So if I make a lasagna, which I do periodically, a big casserole, especially if family's coming, to me, it needs a green salad. That side dish needs to be a green salad. I don't know why, other than when my mother made lasagna, we had a green salad. I can't say I appreciated that salad as much as a kid as I do today. But yeah, a green salad. So I think it has something to do with texture because it's a nice crunchy green. I like a crunchier green as, and of course you have the softer textures in the lasagna with that. So that might have something to do with it.
Well, nostalgia is a valid reason to want a certain thing with something else.
Yeah, exactly. I think another thing would be like for roasted chickens or if you buy a rotisserie chicken, say at the store, for some reason in my head, it needs to have potatoes with it. I know that sounds really weird, but that's again what I was used to. But I love a potato with that. I also then if I eat enchiladas, I want beans. I want black beans.
Yeah. Specifically black beans.
Typically black beans, maybe a refried bean, either one will be fun, but I think it just needs that. Does the meal itself need that? I don't really know. Do I need it on it? Yes.
Or rice and beans?
Just beans.
So yeah,
the rice is important, but I really need to have the beans.
Yeah, I know like a lot of Mexican restaurants, it's like it comes with rice and beans. I love the beans. Like I'll eat the rice. Sometimes I think it's better than others, but yeah, I'm with you, like team beans for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I love rice and beans. Absolutely. Yeah. Actually, I mean, that makes a main dish for me too. But yeah, when I'm having an enchilada or really, a Mexican style dish, I do want to have some beans with it.
So something that what you were saying brought up with lasagna and having a green salad. Well, for me, lasagna, I want garlic bread, but green salad I love too. But my when I married into an Italian family, I found that they tend to eat their salad after a meal to help with digestion, as opposed to I feel like the quote unquote American meal. It's like you start with a salad. Like if you go to a restaurant, you start with a salad and then you have your main dish or whatever. Do you have?
It's interesting. I hadn't really thought about that. I do, certainly at home, just everyday meal, everything goes on the table at the same time, typically. But yeah, I hadn't really thought about the order per se.
We don't do that way in our house. I like to also put everything out at one time because then you can kind of choose your own adventure. But I know my husband's cousin really liked, especially when the salad got in some of that residual pasta sauce.
Oh, that does sound good.
Yeah. For me, like dishes that belong with another dish, like if I have pulled pork, I want coleslaw. Like I love coleslaw on the pulled pork. Bonus, I love that. There's my family loves this balsamic marinated pork tenderloin, and that I always want rice and black beans with it. And it's partially because we like to drizzle the juice, like from cooking the pork that was in the marinade, cooked, not raw, just specifying that, over the rice. It like soaks up that balsamic and soy and all that stuff, and it's really nice with it.
That sounds very delicious, I
Yeah.
think.
Well, and then I think there's also an argument for an assortment of side dishes as the meal. So kind of like tapas, you know? I remember going to Cracker Barrel as a kid, and I loved either getting chicken and dumplings as my meal or the assortment of sides where you got to pick like 6 different side dishes, and that was your meal.
Well, I have to agree with you on that. I love a meal of having just side dishes,
Mm-hmm.
and I think it's you made a comment earlier about putting meals on the table so you can kinda choose your own adventure,
Yeah.
and I think that's a little bit of what it is. It's kind of like choosing my own adventure when it comes
Mm-hmm.
to eating, because I like to try different things and different
Yeah.
textures, and this is also something I do, as a parent, as a mom, as somebody maintaining a kitchen, it's also a way I clean up my refrigerator. I
Oh,
just am
yeah.
like, "Okay, what is it today?" And I'll make a dinner of side dishes.
Mm-hmm.
Let's be real, I'm talking about eating leftovers and just
Yeah.
things, but, just kind of looking at a different way, but having those side dishes, I really like doing that. I think that's a
Yeah.
fun thing to do. I think it's a way to, kind of if you've got multiple people that you're cooking for, it's also a way to kind of allow for different tastes, people who have different preferences with that.
Yeah.
Definitely a lot more work, but if it's planned for in advance, it's the kind of thing that can be saved up for a few days and then made for a side dish dinner type thing. It's all in how you market it. Market your
Oh,
dinner to your
totally.
kids.
Well, and also you can, like I was saying, you can cook a double batch of something so that you have, like, if it's rice or, potatoes or whatever, and then you have them with a different thing so it doesn't feel like the same dinner again, but it is technically leftovers. And I think I've mentioned here before, but I love if I'm going to be cooking something in the oven, like if I'm roasting something, the oven's already on, I'll throw in an extra sheet pan with just like whatever veggies are in the refrigerator. Toss them with a little oil, some grill seasoning, or just salt and pepper, and then you have those cooked veggies ready for you. And they can be used in so many different ways. It's not just, I cooked this on this day, so it has to go with these other things that I cooked on that day. I could say, oh, let me take the asparagus that I cooked from that, and I'll pair it with this, chicken I had this day and the rice that I made the other day, you know. There's no
I look at my
rules. There's no
refrigerator.
rules.
When I open my refrigerator now, I actually look at it. It took me a lot of years to get to this point. I look at it because I do enjoy cooking. So, we don't eat
Mm-hmm.
out much unless we're traveling. And so I actually kind of look at it like you would a menu at a restaurant.
Mm.
So, okay, what main dishes do I have? And I might have a couple in there that I've done during the week. And I'm like, okay, so what side dishes? So it's kind of like, okay, I can pick, all right, this will be my main dish and these will be my side dishes. Or maybe today I'll do all of the side dishes. So
I
kind of
love
look at
that.
it it's just a shift in perspective. It's not like I
Mm-hmm.
do anything different, but it's a shift in perspective on how I actually view what's in my refrigerator.
I love that, and you're absolutely right. And yeah, it makes it less, I don't know. I think leftovers got a bad rap, at least when I was a kid, and part of
Yeah,
it was just not knowing how to reheat them well, but like yeah, being able to see it as an opportunity to like kind of make your own thing, cuz if you have a fridge full of things you've already cooked tonight, you can have something different than your husband has. The stuff's already made, everybody can just heat up their own thing, and it's certainly less
right.
expensive than going out, so.
And I also have in my little fridge menu in my head, it always has a salad bar in it. Just
Yeah.
saying. So I can choose
Well,
to do a salad bar for dinner.
yeah.
Again, it's just leftovers or it's just chopping up vegetables. But again, it's how I look at it. And that's a great way to pull sides out.
Yeah, well, and doing that prep in advance, whether it's cooking or just chopping and stuff, really helps things come together more quickly and seem less daunting when you're actually faced with, I need to get some food together.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So, I hope this has left you hungry. I'm ready to go eat my leftover lentil salad and steak right now. You can find the show notes for this episode at passingtheplate.org/54. Well, that's a wrap on this episode of Passing the Plate. We hope you enjoyed our journey into the world of food, traditions, and the amazing connections they create. As always, it's been a pleasure sharing these delicious stories with you. Remember, food is more than just sustenance. It's a way to connect the dots between our past, present, and future. And until next time, happy eating, happy connecting, and pass the plate. Head to passingtheplate.org/podcast for show notes.